Early in the morning, the first rays of sunlight filtered through the trees, illuminating the abandoned house where Diep awoke on a simple bamboo bed. Her eyes still weary from a sleepless night filled with strange noises, refer to images of Diep lying on a bed, scarf on her head, face pale, clutching the blanket tightly. She stepped outside, where James had been standing since dawn, inspecting strange footprints in the dirt, his crumpled shirt wrinkled, his gaze tense, refer to images of James standing in the yard, holding a wooden stick, scanning the area, sweat glistening on his forehead. Diep noticed the small dog barking softly, sniffing the black torn fabric left from the previous night, sending a shiver down her spine. James, this fabric? Could it be from the hitman? I'm so scared he'll come back. James picked up the fabric, detecting a strong cigarette smell and a dried bloodstain, his eyes filled with worry. It could be him or someone else who knows about us. We must stay vigilant, but this bloodstain worries me. It might mean he's injured or harmed someone else. Suddenly, the dog barked loudly, rushing into the yard, biting at a fresh footprint in the dirt, the heavy boot print of the hitman, but with a smaller mark alongside it, as if from another person, startling them both. Refer to images of the yard, the dog barking, its eyes gleaming brightly. The crunch of dry leaves sounded from the forest. A shadowy figure in black darted by, the glint of a knife flashing before vanishing into darkness. Refer to images of the dark forest, a blurry shadow passing. Diep clung to James, her voice trembling. James, can't we live in peace? The police siren last night. I'm worried they'll come because of your plan. The dog dragged back another piece of black fabric, carrying the scent of dried blood and tobacco, making Diep shudder, wondering if another lurking presence beyond the hitman was watching them. Viewers are left curious. Will the hitman return to attack? Or have the police uncovered James's plot, leading to a major confrontation? Diep decided to head into the bamboo forest to chop bamboo, carrying a small knife and the dog trying to shake off her fear, but her grip on the knife was tight, her eyes constantly scanning. Refer to images of Diep chopping bamboo, scarf on her head, sweat dripping, face tense. She hacked at each bamboo stalk, the sound of the knife echoing through the peaceful setting, but her heart was heavy, recalling the previous night's noises, the blood-stained note 200 million or die, and the torn black fabric. The dog barked softly, circling her protectively, but suddenly it stopped, staring at the bushes, fur bristling, letting out a low growl. Diep flinched, whispering, "Dog, what's wrong? Is it that black-clad figure again? I don't want to face him anymore, but what can I do?" Just then a loud crack sounded, the snapping of bamboo, followed by heavy footsteps and a raspy laugh from the bushes, like taunting from a predator. Diep dropped her knife and ran, but a figure in black burst out. The hitman, eyes icy, knife flashing as it slashed a nearby bamboo stalk, leaving a deep cut and a small drop of blood on the ground. Refer to images of the forest, a blurry shadow, the knife glinting. He shouted, "Diep, pay James's debt or you won't survive. I've been tracking you since last night, knowing every step you take." Diep screamed, fleeing toward the house, but he chased her, the knife slashing a tree, leaving blood on the bamboo leaves. Possibly his own blood or someone else's. The dog barked fiercely, biting the man's leg, forcing him to retreat and vanish into the forest, leaving behind torn black fabric and a new blood-stained note. 300 million or no one lives. The dog dragged back another piece of fabric, carrying the scent of dried blood and tobacco, making Diep shudder, fearing another shadowy manipulator might be orchestrating this from the darkness. Viewers are gripped, curious about the hitman's dark scheme and Diep's fate, wondering if the dog might uncover more dangerous clues. While Diep faced danger, James stayed in the village, checking debts and financial matters, but his heart was heavy with worry about Diep and the hitman. Refer to images of James walking the village path, eyes determined but face tense, gripping his phone tightly. He arrived at a creditor's house, only to find the door pried open, knife marks etched into the wooden frame, accompanied by a faint smell of dried blood. Refer to images of thatched houses, open door, dim light. Inside, a new blood-stained note lay on the table. "James, pay us 300 million or Diep will die. I know she's in the forest." A threat from the hitman sending a chill down James's spine, his hand clutching the note until it tore, heart racing. James called the hitman, voice furious. "You dare threaten Diep again? I've paid enough, what do you want?" The hitman sneered, voice menacing. "Not enough, and I've been tracking her, knowing every step. 300 million or blood will spill. James clenched his fists, resolved to confront him, but suddenly, the wail of police sirens echoed from afar, making him fear his hitman scheme had been exposed, risking prison. He rushed outside, spotting a black-clad figure dart by, the knife glinting before vanishing, leaving torn black fabric on the ground, carrying the scent of dried blood and tobacco. James picked it up, heart pounding, fearing the hitman had attacked Diep, but then a rustle from the bushes, the crunch of dry leaves, made him spin around, seeing only darkness with another bloodstained note falling. "I know everything, James." Viewers are curious. Can James protect Diep? Or will the hitman drag them into greater danger? And who is behind this new note? Diep ran back to the forest house, heart racing, clutching the dog tightly, recounting her confrontation with the hitman. Refer to images of Diep inside the house, scarf on her head, face frantic, hands trembling. She examined the cut on the bamboo and the black fabric, smelling dried blood, shuddering. "James," he demanded, 300 million and slashed near me. "I'm terrified he'll come back." The dog barked loudly, rushing into the yard, sniffing fresh footprints in the dirt. The heavy boot print of the hitman, but with a smaller mark, as if from another person, heightening Diep's anxiety, her hand clutching her shirt tightly. She lit a fire, cooking porridge to calm herself, but her eyes darted to the door, fearing the black-clad figure's return. Refer to images of Diep cooking, firelight flickering, face worried. Suddenly, the dog barked fiercely, charging into the yard, biting a new piece of torn black fabric that fell, carrying the scent of dried blood and tobacco with a blood-stained note. "You won't escape, 300 million now." Diep screamed, rushing inside, but saw only darkness outside, the crunch of dry leaves fading away. The dog dragged back another piece of fabric, carrying a fresh blood scent and a small blood drop on the ground, making Diep shudder, wondering if the hitman was injured or if someone else had attacked. Viewers are curious. Will the hitman strike directly? Or is another shadowy figure pulling strings from the darkness, tied to the mysterious footprints? James returned to the forest, finding Diep trembling, recounting the new blood-stained note. Refer to images of James and Diep in the forest, eyes worried, holding torn black fabric. He inspected the footprints in fabric, smelling dried blood, his gaze furious. "This hitman won't stop. I'll confront him no matter the danger, even if it costs me everything." Diep gripped James's hand, voice trembling. "James, I'm scared he'll kill us. The police siren last night. What if they know you hired him? We'll be in huge trouble." James led Diep deeper into the forest, tracking the footprints, but suddenly a black-clad figure burst out. The hitman, knife flashing as it slashed a nearby tree, leaving a deep cut and a small drop of blood. "James, pay 300 million or you'll both die. I've tracked her every step since last night." James brandished a stick, facing him, but the hitman sneered, fleeing into the forest, leaving blood on the tree and a new blood-stained note. "I'll return, blood will spill if there's no money." The dog barked furiously, biting the hitman's leg, forcing him to retreat, but the distant wail of police sirens made them both panic, fearing James's hitman scheme had been exposed. James picked up the torn black fabric, spotting a fresh blood drop and tobacco smell, wondering if the hitman was injured or if another player was involved in the plot. Viewers are gripped, curious about the confrontation, the risk of James facing legal consequences, and the hitman's scheme, possibly linked to the mysterious footprints. James decided to take Diep to the farmer's market to sell bamboo and fruit, like oranges, to raise money to pay off the hitman, hoping to escape the dangerous spiral. Refer to images of the farmer's market, Diep and James carrying goods, sweat-soaked, eyes anxious. Diep carried bundles of bamboo and oranges, her shoulders burdened not just by the weight but also by fear from the blood-stained note, 300 million or die, and the police siren from the previous night. At the market, they sold a small amount, the buzz of buyers and sellers filling the air, but suddenly a black-clad figure appeared. The hitman, eyes cold, knife tucked at his hip glinting in the sunlight, shouting, 300 million right now or you'll both die. I've tracked your every step. James grabbed Diep's hand, running to their vehicle, but the hitman chased them, slashing the car's body, leaving a deep gash and a drop of blood on the ground. Refer to images of the village path, the car speeding, dim light. Police sirens wailed from afar, startling the hitman, who fled into the crowd, but left a new blood-stained note stuck to the car. I'm not done, blood will spill if there's no money. Diep clung to James, voice trembling. James, what will we do? He won't stop and the police are coming. I'm scared they'll arrest you because of the hitman. James held her hand, eyes resolute. I'll protect you, even if I have to face the darkest forces, even if the law intervenes. The small dog, now in the car, barked loudly, leaping out at the market, biting the torn black fabric the hitman left behind, carrying the scent of dried blood and tobacco. Refer to images of the dog in the yard, but now at the market. It dragged the fabric to a corner, uncovering a small package containing a dagger and a secretly taken photo of Diep chopping bamboo, chilling them both, fearing the hitman had been watching longer than they thought. The police sirens grew louder, red and blue lights flickering in the distance, making James's heart race, wondering if the police had traced his hitman scheme. Diep hugged the dog, tears streaming. James, if the police arrest you, what will I do? I don't want to lose you. Viewers are left curious. Can James escape the hitman and the law? Or will danger continue to threaten them, plunging them into a vortex of crime and despair?